All right, what is up, people, and welcome back. Today we are jumping headfirst into a massive comedy beef. We're talking veteran comic Marc Maron versus the streaming giant Netflix. And trust me, it kicks off with one of the wildest accusations you are ever going to hear. So if you're ready, slam that subscribe button and let's get into it. Fascism is good for business. Yeah, you heard that right. That's a direct quote from Marc Maron about Netflix. It's a heavy, shocking claim. So what on earth could lead him to say something like that? Well, to get it, you got to understand who he is and, more importantly, what his relationship with Netflix used to be.
So first things first, who is Marc Maron? Look, this is not just some random critic with a hot take. This guy is a comedy legend. He's the host of the monster podcast WTF, and he's known for being, let's say, brutally honest. And that completely unfiltered reputation, that's exactly why his words hit like a truck.
And here's the real kicker. Maron wasn't always an outsider throwing rocks. For years, he was part of the Netflix family. He had 2 big specials on the platform. But then, in 2023, things went south. Netflix passed on his new stuff, and he packed his bags and took his new special over to HBO. The point is, he has seen this whole machine from the inside and the out.
So what happened? What turned a Netflix partner into maybe its loudest critic? Well, according to Maron, the whole thing completely fractured over one single event.
And that brings us to the Chappelle tipping point. See, for Maron, the whole firestorm around Dave Chappelle's specials wasn't just another news story. He says it was the exact moment Netflix revealed its true colors.
Oh, you remember this for sure. Back in 2021, Chappelle's special lands, and the backlash over his jokes about the trans community is just immediate, and it is intense. Protests start popping up, right? Even Netflix's own employees staged a walkout. And how did Netflix respond? They doubled down. They stood firm, and they backed Chappelle 100%. For Maron, that right there was the whole story.
And that response from Netflix is what brings us right back to that insane quote from the beginning. This is where he cooks up his whole theory, fascism for business. It's an idea that connects that controversy directly to the company's bank account.
So here's Maron's claim. He says that during all those protests, Netflix execs basically looked at the outrage coming from the LGBTQ+ community and their allies, they ran the numbers, and they made a cold, hard financial calculation. They decided that, in their view, that community just couldn't hurt their profits. So, in Maron's words, they just cut them loose.
And this is what he means by his super provocative term, business fascism. The way he defines it, it's a corporate strategy. It's when you actively side against a marginalized group because you've decided they just don't have enough financial power to fight back and actually hurt your bottom line. I mean, from his perspective, it's about as cynical as a playbook can get. But Maron says this isn't just about a couple of suits in a boardroom. He believes this way of thinking is baked right into the platform's DNA, into its code. And that leads to the algorithm's choice. Is this thing curating culture, or is it just chasing clicks?
Okay, so here's the big counterargument, right? You're probably thinking it. What about shows like Heartstopper, Queer Eye, all the other celebrated LGBTQ+ movies and shows on Netflix? How does Maron's whole theory explain all of that?
Well, his answer is blunt. He basically sees all that content as a token gesture. He's arguing it's just Netflix's way of saying, hey, look, we've got all this other stuff over here, so you can't be mad at us. We're throwing you a bone, so just shut up about the 9-figure deals we're handing to comedians who make fun of you.
But hey, Maron isn't just pointing the finger at the executives. He also calls out his own kind, his fellow comedians, arguing that they're the ones who are more than happy to feed this outrage algorithm for a fat paycheck. And man, you can just feel the raw anger in this quote. He's basically congratulating the so-called anti-woke comics, but with pure sarcasm. He's saying, congrats, you won the culture war, but that your victory came at the direct expense of the safety and dignity of trans people. For him, the punchline to these jokes is actual, real-world harm.
So, after all that, where does this leave us? It's time for the final punchline. What is the big takeaway from this whole comedy clash?
It really all boils down to this one really powerful question that Maron is forcing all of us to think about. If a platform's algorithm learns that outrage gets clicks and clicks drive profit, who ultimately pays the price for that business model? And that question, man, that goes way, way beyond comedy. So now, I'm kicking it over to you. Is Marc Maron really onto something with this whole business fascism theory, or is Netflix just a platform giving a massive, diverse audience exactly what it wants? I want to hear it all. So drop your take in the comments below.
And hey, if you want more explainers that break down the big debates like this one, make sure you like this and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.